On the shelf of your local gas station, somewhere between the lottery tickets and the gummy worms, there sits a little cobalt blue bottle, advertising mood lift, energy, focus. The potion looks like something out of Alice in Wonderland, but you'll only need to travel as far as your closest 7-Eleven in order to find it. And for the low price of $7.95, it promises to make you feel free. Across the country, however, thousands of Americans are struggling to free from its grip. Feel-free tonics are created from a mixture of leaf kratom and kava. They taste like pineapple juice, and they're marketed as plant-based herbal supplements. Their main ingredient, kratom, is found in the leaves of a Southeast Asian tree. Users report that it acts like a stimulant in low doses and a sedative at higher ones. Some people trace its arrival in the US to soldiers returning home from the Vietnam War, but kratom really gained traction in the mid-2000s as a remedy for opioid withdrawal. Kava, meanwhile, is harvested from the root of a South Pacific pepper shrub, and it's often used to treat anxiety. Combine these two tropical herbs and you've got an all-natural, stress-free cocktail. Or perhaps a nightmare. There's a Reddit group called r/quittingfeelingfree, and it has thousands of members. Take a little scroll through it and you will read dozens and dozens of posts like this one. These drinks are insane and not only leave you financially ruined, but also physically and mentally. I am fucked, reads one recent post. The user says they started out drinking 1 tonic a week, then 2 a day, until eventually they were finishing entire cases, that's 12 bottles worth, daily. Now, it should be noted that Feel Free recommends that people only drink 1 bottle a day, but clearly that is not what's happening here. After purchasing what they told themselves would be their final 2 tonics, the Reddit user says they experienced an incident that can only be described as rock bottom. Sitting in their car, they say they lost all bodily function, vomiting, defecating, and urinating on themselves as their vision blurred. People called the paramedics, and when they came, I tried to get out of my car and fell backwards on the ground. Still throwing up, still pissing myself. I had no bodily control. Now, sure, this person admits to exceeding the daily dose of the tonic by tenfold. But the real question is how people are reaching that level of addiction in the first place, and why tens of thousands of Americans are hooked on so-called all-natural supplements. The Food and Drug Administration has recently taken steps to ban the concentrated active ingredient that's found in many kratom products. It's known as 7-OH. But the ban comes far too little, too late. And in any case, it wouldn't affect tonics like Feel Free, which use natural leaf kratom. The story of how this stuff is even legal in the first place is a classically American one. It involves decades of lobbying, an innately broken healthcare system, and one particularly crooked senator from Utah. His lasting legacy includes amplifying the opioid crisis, while ensuring that off-brand narcotics and unregulated boner pills stay on the shelves. Back in 1994, Americans would have been forgiven if the passage of a Dietary Supplement Act wasn't top of mind. It was the same year that Kurt Cobain died, apartheid ended in South Africa, thousands of people watched as O.J. Simpson led police on a chase across Los Angeles in his white Ford Bronco. We had a lot going on. Meanwhile, a Utah Republican by the name of Orrin Hatch was devising a plan to completely unravel the FDA's regulatory powers. Hatch was a tried and true Book of Mormon touting conservative, and his belief in limited government led him to draft the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act. It was an act that would exempt the supplement industry from pretty much all federal regulation. There's one very memorable commercial with Mel Gibson, and he's getting raided by a team of armed FDA agents. At one point, an officer points a gun at him and yells, "Freeze!" He throws his arms in the air and tosses an open bottle of vitamin C tablets. It's ridiculous. But what the law actually accomplished was the total annihilation of consumer protections. After it passed Bill Clinton's desk in October of 1994, the FDA no longer had any power to block a supplement from reaching shelves. They could only prove a product's danger after it was already in stores. This meant that the burden of proof now fell on the government, not the manufacturers. Under the new law, companies were allowed to make unproven claims about their products, just as long as this fine print followed. And I'm sure you'll recognize it. This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. They couldn't explicitly claim to treat, cure, or prevent any disease. That would require actual clinical trials, but they could come pretty damn close. Today, this clause is why schemes like Herbalife can market lemon-flavored powders that support vascular health, but not treat hypertension. It's why Feel Free tonics say they'll make you feel good, but not that they'll cure your depression. But for desperate consumers, this distinction is a little more than a legal loophole. Real prescriptions cost hundreds, so why wouldn't you reach over the counter? Get a little off-brand relief. Unsurprisingly, perhaps, Orrin Hatch had a few key industry backers. The LA Times writes, "It wasn't the desire for rational regulation, but that most common political drug of all, money." The dietary supplement industry had set up shop in Hatch's home state and plied him with pantsfuls of campaign cash. In 2010, for instance, Utah-based Zengo LLC, which markets dietary supplements among other products, was Hatch's second biggest contributor. Herbalife ranked third. Hatch's son, Scott, has worked as a lobbyist for the industry. Thanks to the act, the supplements industry grew from $9 billion in 1994 to more than $50 billion today. In Utah alone, it's worth more than $7 billion. So, as it turns out, Hatch's landslide victory against the FDA was rather fruitful for his friends and family. 2 decades after the act passed, the New York Times noted that it's pretty much impossible to drive along Utah's interstate without seeing the stains from his 1994 snake oil spill. They write, "In the town of Lehigh is the sprawling headquarters of Zengo, where company officials praised Mr. Hatch, a Utah Republican, for helping their exotic fruit juice business operate without excessive intrusion from Washington. Nearby in West Salem, assembly line workers at Kneeways fill thousands of bottles a day for a product line that includes euthanol, a steroid-based hormone that professional sports leagues pushed to ban until Mr. Hatch blocked them. Mr. Hatch's grandson and son-in-law increased revenue at their chiropractic clinic by selling herbal and nutritional treatments, including a $35 thyroid dysfunction injection and a weight loss product, Slim and Sassy Metabolic Blend. Eventually, politicians began to suspect that this unregulated shilling of health products maybe wasn't a great idea. In 2010, Senator John McCain proposed a new law that would increase the FDA's power to review nutritional supplements before they hit shelves. He cited multiple cases in which professional athletes had failed drug tests after taking Shady products. One of these incidents occurred in 2001, when Olympic bobsledder Pavle Jovanek claimed that his positive steroid screen was caused by a spiked supplement. Sports officials actually supported his story, and later analysis showed that a damning 18% of supplements contain undeclared steroids. Still, the bobsledder was barred from the upcoming Olympic Games, coincidentally held that year in Salt Lake City, Utah. Shortly after introducing the legislation, however, Senator McCain's backbone dissolved faster than a spoonful of protein powder. The senator mysteriously abandoned his own bill after meeting with Hatch. He thanks him for this spinelessness in this signed letter. Hatch writes, "I'm counting on you working with me to make sure this important industry doesn't fall prey to over-regulatory regimes and mounds of costly government bureaucracy. In short, we will ensure safe supplements are always available to consumers, and the dietary supplement industry will continue to innovate and grow." In 2016, just as the United States was reaching a record high peak of opioid deaths, Congress decided to cozy up with the nation's major drug distributors. According to a joint investigation by 60 Minutes and the Washington Post, it was the passage of the Ensuring Patient Access and Effective Drug Enforcement Act that provided new legal pathways for opioids and other narcotics to flow into the streets. Their investigation reads, "For years, some drug distributors were fined for repeatedly ignoring warnings from the DEA to shut down suspicious sales of hundreds of millions of pills, while they racked up billions of dollars in sales. The new law makes it virtually impossible for the DEA to freeze suspicious narcotic shipments from the companies, according to internal agency and Justice Department documents. The drug industry worked behind the scenes with lobbyists and key members of Congress, pouring more than $1 million into their election campaigns." The bill was passed after Senator Hatch negotiated a final version with the DEA. He received over $2.5 million in donations from the pharmaceuticals and health industry from 1989 to 2016, according to filings from the FTC. He also received $177,000 from the drug industry alone just while pushing the bill through. After 60 Minutes and the Washington Post released this investigation, Hatch responded with his own op-ed, telling them to leave the conspiracy theories to Netflix. Both of these bills helped create the conditions for today's herbal addiction economy. Many people are turning to kratom products in a desperate bid to taper off these opioids that they became hooked on in the wake of all this deregulation. First, the pills were too easy to get, then suddenly they were impossible to quit. And into that void rushed the wellness industry, offering 1,000 natural band-aids for the crisis it helped create. Gas stations and head shops across the country now stock a smorgasbord of unregulated or barely regulated substances marked as supplements, each one promising to soothe, arouse, or otherwise optimize the chemically depleted consumer. There's tianeptine, an antidepressant sold under names like Zaza or Tiana, Users call it gas station heroin for its opioid-like effects and its vicious withdrawals. There's Phenibut, an anti-anxiety drug developed in the 1960s Soviet Union for military personnel, somehow still legal in the US and sold under euphemisms like mood support or neurotropic focus. That's despite reports of hallucinations and benzo-like withdrawal in regular users. And then, of course, there are the legendary rhino pills. It's a phallic family of nightmare ingredients sold as all-natural male enhancement. These are often found to contain unlisted compounds, like the active ingredients in Viagra and Cialis, which can lower blood pressure to dangerous levels. The FDA has issued literally dozens of warnings about these products, but their packaging just gets shinier and their names even more ridiculous. In any other context, selling misbranded pharmaceuticals with undeclared ingredients might result in criminal charges. But under the legal umbrella of supplements, these products operate in a regulatory twilight zone. The FDA doesn't test them before they hit the market, and unless someone dies, or worse, gets on the news, no one steps in to stop them. The agency's proposed ban on 7-OH might be a good step, but it's not even close to solving the real problem. Because even if 7-OH disappears from the market tomorrow, the same loopholes that allowed kratom to be sold as a harmless mood booster are still wide open. People didn't get addicted to feel free because of a banned compound. They got addicted because our leaders allowed these products to be marketed as wellness tonics in the first place. We allowed these companies to sidestep the standards applied to every other mind-altering drug in the country, all because they slapped a natural label on the bottle. And now that thousands of people are hooked, the response from regulators is to play ingredient whack-a-mole rather than ask why these products were legal in the first place. A few weeks ago, I posted on Reddit asking to speak to users about their experiences with Feel Free. And within literally minutes, I received an email from a PR representative for Botanic Tonics, the company that produces it. The rep firmly explained to me, in bold text, that Feel Free should not be conflated with products containing 7-OH. She wrote, "There is a distinct difference between the natural leaf kratom we use in Feel Free and 7-OH products. We support the FDA announcement." She also touted the company's voluntary labeling improvements and their commitment to education. Of course, Botanic Tonics didn't mention what likely led them to make these voluntary improvements. In 2023, the company settled a nearly $9 million class action lawsuit with consumers who said that Feel Free was misleadingly advertised to them as a safe alternative to alcohol. Before the lawsuit, the company's founder, J.W. Ross, who himself is a recovering alcoholic, described the tonic as a social lubricant, a way to unwind without the hangovers and the negative side effects of drinking. Now their packaging includes a disclaimer that the product may be habit-forming, like caffeine and alcohol. And sure, this specific tonic company does use a less concentrated form of kratom than others. But that doesn't answer the question that's haunting every single user on this Reddit group. If the product is so safe, why can't I stop drinking it? While researching this article, I took a cross-city tour of New Orleans' many smoke shops in search of that all-natural plant-based supplement. My journey was ultimately fruitless because I'd forgotten that literally days before, a new law had gone into effect in Louisiana, which made it the first state to ban kratom entirely, no matter its concentration. The substance is now classified as a Schedule I controlled substance. It's the same category as heroin. When I went into one store and asked the man behind the counter about Feel Free, he said, "That stuff's fucked, man. We sold it, but I always told people not to do it. They say it's dangerous now after everyone's already addicted." He told me that one regular user used to stop by 4 times a day, buying a double pack of tonics each visit. I couldn't help but wonder what new substance that guy might have taken to, hoping to stave off the withdrawals. Because the truth is, you don't need 7-OH to ruin someone's life. You just need a broken regulatory system and a market full of overworked and uninsured people, all looking to take the edge off. That's what makes the FDA's ban feel so hollow. It's not that banning 7-OH is wrong. It's that the entire architecture of supplement regulation operates on backwards thinking. These companies can profit from selling psychoactive drugs without proving they're safe, while consumers are left to sort through Reddit forums and emergency room visits all on their own. Treating consumption as a crime isn't going to fix the issue either. Like my new friend at the corner store so astutely pointed out, our government allowed these products on the shelves. And now, pretty soon, they're going to throw people in jail for possessing a substance they were told would help them. We are now decades into this deregulated mess, all thanks to one senator's paid-for crusade against government bureaucracy. The FDA can ban a molecule after it's already ruined thousands of lives, but it'll take a whole lot more to undo the environment that birthed it. And until then, there's always going to be another tonic, another loophole, and another American passed out in a parking lot, clutching that little blue bottle.
So you're used to hearing me tell you to subscribe to the print edition of Current Affairs, and you should subscribe to the print edition of Current Affairs. But today I want to talk to you about someone else you should support, because there are friends over at the Majority Report. I find it really, really hard to find intelligent, informed commentary on the news. There's so much bullshit in the world. And we've gotten to know and become friends with the Majority Report because we just really respect the work that they do over there. Sam and Emma and the staff there do fantastic research. They know what they're talking about. They focus on important topics. I've been on their show, and, you know, at a time when so many supposedly independent media outlets are compromised by outside interests, they're not, we're not, and so we stick together. Majority Report is really a beacon of genuine free thought. So we are delighted to partner with them. Their kind of outlet is really rare and special and needs to be supported. And so they've agreed to give our readers a deal on memberships there, and we're giving their listeners, in exchange, a deal on Current Affairs subscription. So they are offering, Majority Report with Sam Cedar, offering discount rate for membership there to all Current Affairs readers, $5 a month for 6 months, and you can use the code Current Affairs at checkout. And so your membership there keeps the Majority Report possible. It'll give you access to their daily fun half, to all bonus content, commercial free, 5 days a week, first access to discounted live show tickets, first access to limited run merch. So if you join with that special discounted rate, you can support the Majority Report with Sam Cedar. They are unbought and unbossed. And as I say, just personally, we really like them. We really respect them. And it's been great to get to work with them. So support Current Affairs, read Current Affairs, but also support all independent left media. And Majority Report is a great example of that.